Listen, there are two things that I see people truly crave in this world, and that is emotional fulfillment and sexual fulfillment. And because of these two desires, this is what leads us to embracing or contributes to us embracing being in a relationship, as well as then moving forward past that into a marriage. And we look for our partners to fill those needs, to pour into us in that way, and so that we can just stay focused on them and not feel the desire or the curiosity or the temptation to want to seek it elsewhere. Now, many may say, well, listen, that isn't a fair expectation to be put on a partner. But the reality is that this is what people are looking for. This is what they're hoping for when they enter into a relationship. And the minute that you undermine that level of fulfillment that they're looking for, the door gets cracked open to people entertaining other individuals outside of their relationship. Now, let me make this clear. I am not saying this is okay, acceptable, or anything like that. I'm telling you what happens. And what happens is cheating, plain and simple. But in today's video, we're not even talking about the physical cheating, because I think many people overlook emotional cheating. More specifically, having an emotional affair. I would make the argument that there are more emotional affairs going on right now than physical affairs, okay? One, because it's a lot easier to do. It's a lot easier to fall into the trap. Sometimes you may be in one and you don't even realize what's fully going on here. And other times, again, it just may feel like an outlet. It may feel like, okay, it's a harmless situation because I have no interest in moving this past the emotional side of things. But many people overlook the fact that starting with the emotional can open the door to the physical. And even if it does not go that far as the physical, what impact is this emotional affair having on your relationship? And you know what? More importantly, what does it say about your relationship? What's really going on here? So here are some signs to look for, but I want to make clear these signs can be what you may see in your partner, or what you may have to evaluate about yourself and what's going on in your life. Sign number one is you keep this friendship secret from your partner. Now, I say friendship in quotes because, again, some of these situations aren't really friends, okay? And when I say they're not really friends, I'm meaning that it's not truly platonic. That even though it may be operating on an emotional level, there is a sexual desire that exists there. But we'll get more into that later. So regardless of whether you call them friend, acquaintance, whatever, the person keeps this individual that they're gaining this emotional fulfillment from separate from their relationship, or secret. Now, I use both secret and separate because in some scenarios, it is just a secret. It is that part, the other partner has no clue about this quote unquote friend. All right. And that's a red flag, because if this is a genuine platonic relationship, friendship, then why wouldn't the partner know about it? Why wouldn't the partner be involved? When I say involved, I don't mean we hang out with each other's friends, we talk all day with each other's friends, but we have a level of rapport with them when it's a genuine platonic friendship. But when there's something more going on there, there's a tendency to want to keep it separate from the actual relationship that the person is in. But again, sometimes it's separate in the sense that the other person is aware of this friend. They know this person exists, but again, the world is kept separate. So what you'll notice is, for example, let's just say a woman is having an emotional affair with a guy at work, all right? And the husband, let's say it's a husband in this scenario, knows about the guy at work. And to him, it's just some harmless guy at work. But what happens is the wife never tries to include the husband in anything that her and the friend do. Never tries to allow them, or never allows them to cross paths. Again, she may make the husband aware, But the key is keep them separate. Now listen, I'm using a woman as an example. Of course, this can be in reverse with a man. The point is, I'm speaking about people in general. This is what you're going to see happen. A level of secrecy or separation with this other quote unquote friend. And for the sake of this video, I'm just going to use the word friend throughout the video, all right? But we understand that it's not really always an actual friendship, all right? Good. Sign number 2 of an emotional affair is that the person does not confide in and open up to their partner. And more specifically, they confide in others, but not their partner. Now listen, I know some of you might be thinking, well, because you might be triggered by this. You may feel like, well, listen, I try to talk to my partner and I can't. So the fact that I confide in others doesn't mean I'm having an affair. I get what you're saying. But one, remember what I said in the very beginning, an emotional affair can expose what the deeper rooted issue is in your relationship. And so if you fall under the category of you confide to this person, or you notice your partner confide to this person, but not in you, then that shows that you guys have some kind of breakdown in communication that needs to be addressed and resolved. If not, this continuous behavior of confiding in others or confiding in this friend will continue. And again, as I said earlier, it can start emotional and that can easily turn sexual. So we can't just say, oh, well, you know what? It's no big deal. They don't got to talk to me. They can talk to them. I don't feel like hearing their stuff anyway. No, you better be careful, because if they can't talk to you or you can't talk to your partner, then that's going to lead to bigger problems later. A third sign of an emotional affair is an unwillingness to establish boundaries or consistent breaking of the boundaries, all right? So again, let me give a very direct example. Let's say man and woman are married. The man has a friend and they talk here and there. Wife doesn't really have a problem with it. But let's say the wife communicates that, hey, listen, I know that's your friend, but she don't need to be calling this house past a certain time. So let's just say she's not supposed to call the house past midnight, all right? That's an understood agreement. That's the boundary that has been set. And what you may find is, one, either a strong pushback on that boundary, which is a sign of trouble right there. Because again, any happy, healthy relationship are two people who respect each other's feelings, respect the boundaries that they want to have in place. Of course, there may be a level of trying to come to an agreement or middle ground, but just a complete dismissal or rejection of setting a boundary, that's a problem. But let's just say in this scenario, he agrees to the 12 o'clock curfew, the 12 o'clock cutoff time. And then the female friend multiple times calls past 12 o'clock. And at no point does the husband check the female friend. At no point does he remind her, listen, you shouldn't be calling. Now, this is a two-way sign. A two-way sign because, one, the fact that he's not checking her, even though she continues to break the boundary, is saying, okay, what the hell's going on here? There's something more to this friendship. The other sign is, why does the friend keep breaking the boundary? She knows damn well she's not supposed to call past 12 o'clock. She understands he's married. Why is she so willing to violate, and I'm going to use the word violate the rules of what is an appropriate time to call? That shows on her side, the friend side, there's something more there. And again, even if these two people have never physically gotten involved, they're clearly emotionally invested to each other at a level that has become unhealthy. Because one, people are not respecting the boundaries of a relationship. We've got a huge problem. So that's one example, but of course it can apply to any kind of boundaries you set. It can apply to physical boundaries, all right? There may be, okay, wait a minute, this friend gets a little too close. What's going on there? This friend's rubbing your husband or your wife's leg. What's going on with that? Like, and listen, this may sound crazy to some of y'all, but this stuff happens sometimes. This is real. So this is definitely a clear sign that there's more than likely some level of an emotional affair going on here. Number 4 on this list, that sign of an emotional affair, is they feel closer to their friend than their partner. Now, of course, depending on which angle you're evaluating this, if you are the person evaluating your partner to determine if they're in an emotional affair, you may not know if they're truly feeling closer to this friend more than you, unless they actually come out and say it. And that can happen. Maybe in a moment of frustration, venting, whatever the case may be, they may allude to that and show you that, yes, they do feel like there's a deeper bond on that side. But I think that when you are trying to evaluate it from that angle, considering the things of, okay, do they confide in them more than me? Do they seem to be more generous and helpful to them? Do they seem to be more concerned about their friends' feelings than mine? These are things that kind of speak to, okay, there's a deeper level of closeness there than we have with each other. But the other also way to look at this is if you're the one that's in it. And you got to ask yourself, because you're the one that can answer this clearly. Do you feel closer to your friend than your partner? And if that is the case, and again, this is a problem. And even if you say to yourself, no, it's not a problem because this is really my friend and I would never cross that line with my friend. Okay, cool, let's run with that. But if a friend can make you feel closer to them than your own partner, why are you with this partner? What kind of relationship do we really have here? And you've got to understand that if you don't have that level of closeness with your partner, it's going to then create other issues. It doesn't just stop there. It starts to show itself in various ways. So you can't ignore that and think this is harmless. Again, the mistake that many people make in regards to emotional affairs is thinking this is harmless. It will only stay here. And that's just not the case in most situations. It's going to escalate many times, and again, it is exposing the issues in your relationship that you are refusing to address. And unfortunately, what happens, I have to mention this, what happens to many people is the only reason you're even able to tolerate, and I'm using the word tolerate specifically, tolerate your relationship, your committed, supposed to be committed relationship, is because of the emotional affair you got going on. It's because of the buffers, I like to call them, in your life. Sometimes it may not be quote unquote an emotional affair, but it could be friends and family, your kids. You're using other things to pour into and to draw from emotionally so that you can ignore or deal with the fact that you don't get that from your partner. This is not good. This is not healthy. And again, I'm just going to give one example of why this is not a long-term fix. Let's just say you're gaining your emotional fulfillment from your children, all right? And typically that can happen while they're still very young and very dependent on you. And so you allow that to create an environment where you can ignore the fact that what you're lacking in your actual relationship or in your marriage. But once these kids become older and they are now independent, and now you don't get from them emotionally what you used to, now that crack that existed just busted wide open. Now what are you going to do? Now you're searching for answers of where you can get this fulfillment again because it's been taken away from you. You weren't getting it in your relationship. Now your kids have grown up. So what happens? Either you're going to try to have more kids or you're going to get it from somebody else. And that someone else can very much, as I've said multiple times already, lead to something physical. Hell, it may even start physical because you're trying to get the emotional from them. And the physical was the avenue you took to get there. All right? We're not going to drag on with that, but just, it's just things to consider, had to be addressed, had to be spoken on. But at the end of the day, feeling closer to the friend than your partner is a sign of an emotional affair, or at the very least, a huge red flag. All right, so let's keep this moving. The 5th sign of an emotional affair is when the person is more concerned about how they look to their friend rather than their partner. All right. So one thing, and again, I just feel the need to remind you guys that no matter what examples I use, whether I use a man or a woman, a husband or wife, this applies both ways. So I'm not picking on any specific gender, all right? Before y'all say, well, men do this or women do this. Yes, everybody. It happens both ways. Getting back to the point. Having a concern of looking good for the partner, for the friend more than the partner. So again, when people, they won't look good or dress up for the person at home, but if they're gonna be in the presence of their friend, oh, now they gotta look all extra good. Sometimes you see like the guy who doesn't take care of himself, but all of a sudden when he's going out with this friend, he got to get a fresh haircut. He got the best cologne on. That man is getting done up. It's like, well, wait a minute. What's going on here? Now, again, I also want to make clear, just because you see a sign like this, because I already can see a scenario where some of y'all are remembering when your man stepped out looking better than usual. And now you're like, wait a minute, is this man having an affair? I don't want that to be the assumption, but I do want you to be aware enough to dig deeper, to understand, okay, is there a reasonable explanation for this? Or is this the real issue, that there is an emotional affair or maybe even a physical affair going on, all right? But ultimately, yes, that desire to want to look good for the partner, and not just look good. I think when we say more concerned with how that person looks to their friend than their partner, goes beyond beyond physical presentation. It's, again, being concerned about their perception. I don't want my friend to look at me like this. So you don't care how your partner looks at you or perceives you, but you seem more concerned with your friend? That's a problem. If you hold, or that person holds, their friend's perception in higher regard than their partner, that's a problem. And that's a sign, that's a red flag, that's an issue that has to be addressed, and we cannot just simply ignore it. Hey, thank you for watching this video. Be sure to check this one out right here, and I'll see you there. So I know a lot of you ladies have experiences with men that leave you frustrated, confused, and disappointed, all right? And I understand why many women have